I am here with Anne Valuska. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Annie? I forgot to ask you. Was it Valuska or Valuska?
It's Valuska.
Oh my God, I had it right the first time. I won the Jeopardy, whatever it is, challenge. You do really amazing research work, or you're the kind of the puppeteer of a lot of research work being done by Purina, not into pet food, which is their business, but into the human animal bond. And it's interesting to me, and I think it should be to a lot of people, that a big pet food company, I guess maybe the biggest, certainly the oldest, the most famous, spends a great deal of time investigating what pets mean to us and how we interact with them, just because that's the driving force behind a company that makes money on food, but there's a kind of a corporate heart and soul to it. And I think it's really important people understand that they think of big pet companies as just being out to make a buck. And it's a real world. People have to make money. But I think that what the work that you're overseeing, if that's the right word, it's really a testament to the depth of all of our love for pets, but also of the company's appreciation of that. So describe how you wound up in the chair you sit in or the throne you sit on, whichever way what you want to put it.
Yeah, so I've been with Purina for a little over 12 years now. My academic background is in animal behavior. I have a PhD in animal behavior from UC Davis, and while I was there, I studied captive animal welfare, so trying to
Oh,
make the lives of
interesting.
of laboratory rabbits better. I did my postdoc at Disney's Animal Kingdom, so still interested in captive animal welfare.
Wow.
This time they were tigers and gorillas and elephants
Oh my
instead of
goodness.
rabbits. And then I joined Purina on the behavior team, and I am one of several behaviorists here at the company. And that really allows us to take a whole pet approach to our products. I like to say that my job here is really to be the voice of the pet. So it's my job to understand how cats and dogs experience the world and what they need, and then translate that to my colleagues, whether those are colleagues that are making the pet food or in marketing or public relations, so that the well-being and the needs of pets make it to every part of what the company does. And this human animal bond grant is one really important part of that.
God, that really gladdens my heart. The other thing Purina does a massive amount of is philanthropy. And I'm intimately now aware of the work they do with the service dog salute because Purina service dog salute or the dog chow service dog salute has been part of the dog film festival for 2 years now, and I hope ongoing because the funds they have given, but also the voice and recognition they've given to the service dog organizations for veterans with PTSD, whose lives are not just changed, but completely saved by these dogs. Again, it's the philanthropy. And if you weren't doing the behavior work, then maybe the people on the philanthropic side trying to think, where shall we do our good, might not even know the profound impact of those particular service dogs. Everyone knows what a service dog is that leads a blind or a visually impaired person, but those invisible wounds are something else. So these grants, again, are a form of philanthropy, or they are philanthropy. So are you part of a team that decides where this animal behavior research work is done?
Yes. So there are a group of us at Purina that evaluate the applications. We run this program every other year.
Oh,
And this year we got a record-breaking number of applicants. We had over 100 to review and try to pick
wow.
the three. And they're all great work. I wish we could fund every single one of them. We have to choose the studies that we feel like are going to make the most impact. And of course, in areas that Purina is really interested in. For example, we funded one project that is looking at the impact of domestic abuse or intimate partner violence on the survivors and also the pets. Through our Purple Leash project, we
Yes.
know that pets are part of the family, and that means they can become ensnared in these domestic violence situations as well as the people in that family. And we also know that survivors are less likely to leave their abuser if they can't bring their pets with them into shelter. And so the goal of the Purple Leash Project is to try to increase the number of pet-friendly domestic violence
Yeah.
shelters throughout the United States. But this research is going to allow us to learn even more about what that human-animal bond is like in this context, both the impacts on the pets themselves and their well-being, and how having a pet positively affects the survivor and their resilience in going through those situations.
So you already are funding Purple Leash. I've had somebody from Purple Leash on the show, I think last year, which is to call out or to try and encourage more shelters to accept pets because otherwise the women and children don't leave because the pet's in jeopardy. So that's an amazing project. Why did you decide amongst the 100 of applicants, all of whom are academics themselves and researchers, and many of them probably have letters after their name like you do, why did you pick this study if you already knew that very impact that you've just described? What is it? What do you hope this study furthers?
So this is really going to be a deeper dive than has been done, to my knowledge, on the impact on the well-being of the pets in particular, and also
Right.
specifically the impact of that relationship between the pet and the survivor on the outcomes for the survivor. So the stats that I mentioned earlier
Yes.
about the delay leaving, it's pretty well known. This is just going to be a much deeper dive on the very real impacts that having a pet can have on the survivors that find themselves in these domestic abuse situations. So I think that is going to be really important. The more we learn about what these survivors are going through, the more we'll be able to learn about how to more effectively help them and their pets get through those situations and come out on the other side.
Which unfortunately is probably more prevalent in society than many of us know. You on the
Yes.
inside, if you will, the inside of research and numbers and maybe even police departments, et cetera, you can get those reports. So to us, to those of us not affected by domestic abuse, we think, oh, that's really sad or a shame, or I feel bad for them, but maybe it doesn't happen that much, but it happens a lot. And
It
I guess
does.
it happens a lot, and the more hidden ones, or the ones that don't get help, often are held back by pets because of the impact on them. All right, so that's one study. What's the next one?
Another study that we funded, we knew that we wanted to sponsor some cat research
Yes,
because
thank you. The
it's,
poor kitties, they're
I
left out,
know,
right?
I'm a cat parent myself. I have a cat and a dog at home, and they're just very understudied,
Yes.
which, as a result, I think in part of them being understudied, I don't think cats get enough credit for the kind of bonds they can form with people. They have
Yes.
been domesticated for almost 10,000 years based on current evidence. That's almost as long as dogs have been. And yet they are still perceived as these aloof, independent creatures that need people. And in my opinion, that couldn't be further from the truth. And this particular study that we are sponsoring with this round of grant applications is looking at exactly that bond and specifically the impact that separation can have on cats. So this will be a deep dive on separation related disorders in cats. So the kinds of anxieties and
Yeah.
stress they can experience when their human caretakers are separated from them. And so this study is going to be a really nice look at those behaviors and what can cause stress and hopefully how to make it better so that cats don't have to have as much anxiety through those separations. So I'm
I
really
think
excited about that
I
work.
think that one is so valuable because dog separation anxiety is visible and loud. Most dogs, when they have severe separation anxiety, they bark, they moan, they cry. They also become physically destructive as a way to cope with their own anxiety, whether it's chewing furniture or doors or trying to get out through windows. Those are the most severe, but obviously it's a sliding scale. The cats, being cats and also being prey animals as well as predators, when they're feeling under stress, under attack, emotional attack, even from the fact that they're alone and they don't want to be, they just wither up and die emotionally, but they don't show it. But I think,
Or
or
if they do show it, people often interpret those as
yeah,
spiteful
that's
behaviors
right.
instead of
That's
actually
right.
seeing it as a
That's a
sign of
great point.
stress.
Yeah, it's a great point. People say, oh, that cat, he's just trying to get back at me that I didn't serve his dinner at the right time, and that's why he peed on the pillow. but cats don't ever act from spite. We want to make that clear to people. They aren't driven by some of the most vile human emotions. They're just trying to cope with emotions that they don't know quite what to do with, because you could say it's even unnatural for a cat. While they are completely bonded to us and live with us, the fact that they are trapped alone, they're already trapped in your house or your apartment. I don't care how big and nice your house is. There's no way out. There shouldn't be any way out if you have an indoor only cat, and they're trapped. And we don't stop enough to think what that feels like to a cat left alone in a big hollow house or a tiny empty apartment. It doesn't matter to them. The person matters to them more than, as you said, than we give them credit for. This study, I think, could be really fantastic. There are quite a few nice pharmaceuticals that are being developed just for cats around these emotional issues. And I think more people, more owners would reach for them or ask their vet for them if they understood their cat's actually suffering emotionally. But we can't help them if we don't realize there's a problem because we have not been informed.
I agree. And I think that this study is going to be a great way to learn more about this issue and really help get that message across.
Yeah, and then make people feel just as guilty for leaving their cat alone as we do for leaving our dogs alone. We might as well bear the consequences. So that's great. And that work's being done in Budapest, Hungary.
Yes,
Okay, so I think I need to get on the horn at some point with those researchers and have them be so gleeful and grateful for having this research money to do their work, and let them describe in detail how do they identify the separation anxious cat? And then is it citizen science, just reporting by the human, in which case they probably aren't getting as much information as exists because the people are not aware. And then what's your third one?
so the third one is another really cool project. Purina, we really do believe that pets and people are better together. And so we have Purple Leash Project, and we also have another really cool initiative that started several years ago, which is the Purina Family Pet Center. And this was a room that we built in the local St. Louis Children's Hospital, and it was designed to give pets and patients the best experience possible. And it allowed patients that are staying at that children's hospital to have brief visits with their own family pets that could
Wow.
come and visit the hospital. And so that has been incredible for the patients. And we know that there's plenty of science showing the benefit of pets to
Right.
patients in those situations. But unfortunately, not every hospital is going to be set up to enable those kinds of visits. There's also therapy dogs, so animal assisted interactions. Not every
Not the
patient
same.
is
That's
in a
right.
position to be able to go in with a dog like that. They might be immunocompromised. There might be some issues with accessibility and getting even therapy dogs into the
Right.
hospital. And so this third study that we're sponsoring is looking at a solution to that and seeing if the possibility of virtual pet therapy might
Oh,
make a difference.
interesting. So let's just back up for a second. We are aware that there are trained therapy dogs. Well, they're trained by either their owner or by a professional trainer. Then they have to go through testing to actually get that seal of approval in order to even be considered to go into a hospital. However, that's not your family pet. And the people dealing with maybe a very sick child, and you have parents, maybe both of whom are working, and maybe you don't even have a family pet who would qualify as a generalized therapy dog. Fine with you and your kids, probably not going to qualify for a more sick person or child, or one who's could be frightened by a dog that was a little more exuberant. Whereas if it's your own dog, it's like you embrace the exuberance. So the idea of having your own dog, not one who's just Mr. Perfect or Miss Perfect, because most of our dogs aren't. The therapy dogs are like outliers, if you ask me, that are willing to just let somebody pat them, or they get on the hospital bed and they lie there quietly. I'm like, wow, that must be an amazing thing to have a dog like that that isn't trying to be more rambunctious. So the virtual idea is fascinating. How does that work?
So I believe that's part of what this study is exploring. It will still be using those trained therapy dogs, so
Okay.
those outliers you mentioned. So they'll still be in this therapy setting, but instead of the dog going into the patient's room or the facility to interact directly with the patient, there will be ways for the dog to be visible on a screen and for the patient to have some interactions with them. For example, maybe the patient is able to press a certain button or say a certain word, and the handler will give the dog a treat that the patient will watch the dog get
Oh,
to eat. So
wow.
it's I believe the study will be exploring those kinds of interactions and whether there is any benefit to the patient from the virtual therapy. And if there is, I think that could be huge innovation and would make the benefits of pets so much more accessible to so many more people.
Well, I hope that they gave it a snazzy name like telemedicine, because that's what telemedicine is. I don't know if you've ever had it. I have, where you're in an emergency room or someplace in a hospital type setting, and there is no, I don't know, pick a number, a neurologist on call. So suddenly, in many states away, maybe even in another continent, there's a doctor that comes on a screen and is consulting with you and treating you. So these pets are basically doing telemedicine.
Yeah, tele-pet therapy.
Yeah, that's really cool. And where is that study being done?
I believe that study is being done also in Hungary.
It's really interesting that the Hungarians historically have been studying dogs in an academic way, the way you do. And now you would know this better than I because you have the letters after your name and you studied it at UC Davis and elsewhere. But I think they've been studying especially dog behavior almost longer than anybody. And when I've read those about those researchers 50 years ago, I don't know, I'm picking a number, but certainly at least 50 years ago, I think Hungary? Why Hungary? It's fascinating. Why do you think Hungary? Is there any answer to that?
I could not tell you. I do know that there's a line of people that all work
Yes,
together really well, and they have
an
this study
institute.
population. And
Yeah,
yes,
a whole institute named just for that study of the behavior of dogs and often just for us to understand them better, which is an idea that we think we've invented in the last 20 years, let's say. But they've been doing it just on principle for a lot longer. So, how many countries did you get grants from, or grant proposals from, I should say?
oh, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but
Approximately.
a lot. Yes, over a dozen, I
Yeah,
think it's safe to say, which is,
and
so exciting to see as you're
right.
reviewing applications.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the Dog Film Festival and the Cat Film Festival when I'm getting submissions from faraway continents, not just countries, never mind states in America. It's just this sense of this global interest and love and desire to learn more, to know more, to do better. It's a great time to be sitting in the chair you and your colleagues sit in, isn't it? A time when no one's saying, "You're doing what with dogs? Why?" It's, "Oh, sure, yeah, that's good." And hey, have you thought of this? Do people do that with you? Do they say, "Oh, I have a great idea," or "I heard of something great"?
I don't get as many ideas. I do
Really?
get a lot of questions, which I love. People
That
have
makes
some
sense.
wonderful questions, and I'm sure I could speak for the other scientists in saying that all of this wonderful research that's out there on pet behavior started with a question. So I love hearing
Right.
people's questions.
That's a really good point. So why is your work every other year to give the projects that you funded time to finish? That makes sense. So are they 2-year projects in
Yes, they
essence?
are.
Interesting. And why does it cost I know the answer, so I'm asking this just because it's interesting to know. Why do they need money to do what they're doing? Why does it cost them money to do what they're doing?
Yeah, so some of it is going to be the materials. So in the case of some of these studies, they'll be coding videos, so they need to set up cameras in people's homes. So that equipment's going to cost money, but mostly it is to support the academics that are doing this research. The scientists' time is valuable. They're going to be taking time out away from teaching to conduct these studies
Right.
potentially. There might be graduate students working on it, and they're going to need to be compensated for their time. So it's really to support those brilliant minds that are going to be doing all this work and getting the data and helping us learn more about human animal bond.
That's really very cool. Do any of these foreign researchers, experts, or experts to be, do they want to come to America or are they very happy being where they are? I know it's a very general question, but I just wonder, oh, I'd love to come to UC Davis or where can I come in America to have a look around or to do a project? Or do they like to stay where they are?
I'm not sure. I haven't talked to them directly about that. Most folks in this field are very curious, so I wouldn't be
Yes,
surprised if they would
right.
want to explore just to have that experience.
What about you? Have you wanted to go, for example, to Hungary to,
Oh, I would love to go to Hungary.
wouldn't that
I
be
would
cool?
love
I would
to
too.
do
I'd like
that.
to see the difference in the way they think about dogs. They've been thinking about them a long time. And I guess the important thing, I suppose you get this question, but it's important that we make clear no dogs are being researched on, nothing's being done to them. These are citizen dogs. These are citizen, it's citizen science, but driven by scientists.
These are pet dogs or therapy dogs or pet
Right.
cats, and or these researchers will be observing the effects. There's no experiments happening.
And I guess that's one of the concerns is that when people hear research with animals or on animals, they have this idea of the horrible pictures they might have seen of, I don't know, electrodes being planted or surgeries or something. And that it's nothing, it couldn't be further from the truth where behavior is concerned.
No, we are trying to celebrate the bond
Yeah,
where I'm particularly passionate about animal well-being. And so it's really about trying to learn about these pets' needs in a home environment
right.
and when where they're acting natural and they're really thriving with their people.
And to try and make sure that you've chosen scientists who I imagine, have created a study that keeps it as true and objective and realistic as possible. That's got to be a bit of a challenge. People can have a good idea, but then if the execution doesn't have scientific strength, if you will, or legs, then it's just too subjective and kind of loosey-goosey.
Yes, and that is part of our evaluation criteria. There are several scientists that sit on the panel that review these, and that is definitely required in order to be a proposal that's selected. But I really can't say enough. We were very lucky to get lots of very good applications. We always do. So generally, that's not the
That's not
deciding
an issue.
criteria. They're
There are
all
people
great.
like spitballing an idea and not having thought it all the way through. Have you ever gotten a proposal and said, "Oh, this is great, but there's a missing piece," and then ask them questions, or there isn't time to do that?
We know it's pretty much what you get. There
Yes.
are so many proposals that I think, oh, I wish we could fund this one too.
But do you ever say come back in 2 years?
Oh, sure.
Right? How many times do you have those people? I've heard of somebody that stood online for 6 or 8 hours. He wanted to be on Survivor, and he did it 3 different times. I'm like, seriously? I guess if you ask enough times, maybe this will be the year. Do any of yours try to survive the vetting process and try to come back year after year with a good idea?
I don't know that the same application is twice, but
Probably
I know
not.
that,
Same
we get the same researchers
Yeah,
in multiple years, which is nice.
which makes sense. With just a minute left, do you miss the rabbit work that you did when you were studying?
Rabbits will forever
Yeah,
have a special place
I
in my
could
heart.
tell. I could tell. You say the word rabbit and your whole face lights up. They are great and they get experimented on a great deal less or maybe not at all anymore, the way they used to be. And a lot of people have pet rabbits, as we know. I think they're the fourth or something most popular after dog, cat, and some exotic that I can't remember, like a gecko or something. People are funny, the things that they like the most, but bunnies are really terrific. So you don't do any bunny research? No,
Not anymore.
dog and cat. No.
Dog and
And you don't do any rabbit research yourself personally. And these Purina grants are just dog and cat.
yes,
Makes sense. That is the main flag flying, right? In St.
for
Louis.
sure.
I'm really happy to learn more about this. And I'm looking forward to talking to the cat people in Budapest, just because who doesn't want to? And maybe they'll invite you and me. We'll go over to Budapest and see what
Hey, that'd be great.
if they invite us, why not? Thanks for all the work you're doing, Annie, and that Purina's doing to keep digging deeper into this happy topic of people and their pets. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thanks for the opportunity to talk about it.
I hope in 2 years you'll come back and tell me what was learned. That would be good.
Yes,
That'll be
I would
great.
love to.
I look forward to it. Take care and thanks again.
Thank you.